It is championship weekend in the Western Ultimate League here in Thornton, Colorado at Pinnacle Athletic Complex. It is all set for the final matchup. Colorado Alpenglow taking on Utah Wild. These two teams could not be more evenly matched. I am Katie Killebrew, joined by Manisha Dariani, and we are very excited to bring you this final game in what has been an exceptionally exciting weekend of Ultimate.
An entire weekend of upsets, Katie. It has been such a trip getting to this moment, and to have these two teams duking it out for the title. I don't think we could have scripted a better storyline. The Northwest Battle of the Ages. These teams 1-1 on the season so far. This is the third and final deciding game. Who will take the crown?
And either way, it will be a new champion. Seattle Tempest not here because these two teams took their chance and they are here in the title game together. Colorado Alpenglow has been all over the fields as teams warm up, and you have seen some exciting play from both these teams.
I have. I mean, just not even talking about yesterday's gameplay, but just considering the entire season altogether. Colorado Alpenglow, just an entertaining team to watch. Yes, they are at home. Yes, they are a team that is very deep, but they are a team that utilizes that depth very well. They understand how to be able to spread the field out. I know we're seeing some of the highlights from yesterday's semifinal game, but I suspect that in addition to those stars, more stars will be coming out tonight.
That's one of the exciting things about leagues like this, highlighting new players so that fans at home can follow along. But there's a lot of fans following from home. Colorado Alpenglow, the host team, but plenty of people watching Abby Thorpe and Ari Nelson, two standouts from their semifinal game, making huge plays up and down the field. Abby Thorpe, one of the nominees for MVP, and elevating there, showing you why.
And Abby Thorpe yesterday finishing with 3 goals, 2 assists, and a D on the day. The question will be, can Abby up the ante today? I think the answer is yes.
Well, if you're going to up the ante, you're going to have to do it against a resurgent Utah Wild team.
3-3 on the season, a team that literally fought and clawed its way into this championship weekend. They were 1-3 coming into the last 2 weekends of Ultimate, then defeated Tempest in Seattle, then defeated Colorado, this very team that they are playing today, at their home. These two teams are very evenly matched on the season. They have finished 13-15, 18-19. Katie, I think we are in for a very exciting final.
If there are two teams that know each other well, it is these two. And on the back of Paige Kircher and Stacy Gaskill. Gaskill laying out for a grab there. And Kircher is one of the all-time leader in many of the stats for Wild. The orange hair really a beacon as she moves up and down the field.
Again, we're highlighting these two incredible players, but let's not forget the cast of characters that are around them as well. These two teams, again, are here for a grudge match.
Absolutely a grudge match, and that is what they are fighting for. The trophy going the last 2 times to Seattle Tempest, and both of these teams are going to be gritting it out to hoist that over their heads in a bit. Earlier, one of our correspondents caught up with Alicia Dixon.
Alpenglow. Hi, thanks so much for taking the time. What does it mean to you to make it to championship weekend or the championship game?
It's amazing. We have a great team. I think we have the best fans in the league, so be able to play in the championship game and bring it home to them would be amazing.
This is the team's first appearance in championship weekend, and it made it to the final. What do you think you all did to level up to make it here?
I think it really just comes down to determination and really wanting it. We worked hard each week, whether we had a game or not. We had practices after every one of our game weekends, and we just talked and focused on what we had to do to get better each game and come and perform.
Thank you, that's amazing. So, what is the one storyline you want told for the Alpenglow for this amazing season?
Well, I'm a fan of haters, you know? And I know at the beginning of this season we had a lot of haters out there. We had a lot of people who said we were bottom of the league, we weren't going to make it, we weren't a great team. And I just love the fact that we're in the championship game, we're at home, and we're here to prove them wrong.
Thank you, Alicia. Thanks for your time, and best of luck in the game.
Thanks.
Let's go! Alicia Dixon, very hype, a defensive stat leader and emotional leader for Colorado, making it known that she was there. But our correspondent also talking with Chrissy Mariyama, an emotional leader for Wild, sidelined with an ACL injury. She was talking to us about their season.
Hi, my name's Leah Smith, and I'm here with Utah Wild captain Chrissy Mariyama. Chrissy, it is the Wild's first appearance at Championship Weekend. How are you feeling? What are the vibes for the team?
Our team is hyped to be here. We are super excited. This year, it's our third year under the belt. We've built our trust. We've been working on our systems. We haven't been afraid to make adjustments this year, and I think it shows. I think we feel like we deserve to be here. We're ready to take on the game.
And speaking of adjustments, last year you got 4th in the league, and this year you're in the championship game. What adjustments have you made as a team that you really credit to your success here?
I think a lot of that is honestly mentality. I think Utah we can sit back on our heels and feel like we're the underdog, and honestly, screw that. Like, I think we've been saying, why not us? We put in just as much work. We have just as athletic of players, if not more. Like, we're hyped on ourselves this year, and we're ready to show it off.
Yeah, so talking about that storyline, like, what, at the end of the season, what do you want the Wild storyline to be? What do you want to be really the thesis of your team?
I think it's that Wild has worked so hard for every single rep that it has. We have players that drive so far, hours to get to play with each other. We shoveled the fields off multiple weekends in a row to play in the bitter cold of February, and we want to be here. We want this win. That's it.
Well, thank you so much, Chrissy. Good luck to the Wild in this game, and I'm going to throw it back to Katie and Slap. Thank you.
As the players continue to warm up, we can see how hard all these teams have worked, every team being audacious in the Western Ultimate League, fighting for a trophy. Stay tuned as we get set for first pull in the championship game.
Moving, that's the method, and I'm moving on to rep it. The suburbs, how I left it, laying beats down on the structures. Riling up the juice, and I'm stirring up a ruckus. Stay hurting instrumentals, putting rappers on the crutches. Rebels of the ages, get your own places. Cook yourself something, stop living in the basement. I'm 5 stars, why waste your time to rate it? Chuck the hater raid, bitch, I'm always hydrated. I made up and get to this guy, cause so sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing. I held up a goodbye, cause I live in better, make each other do my own thing. I made up and get to this guy, cause so sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing.
Hopefully I can catch it this spot. Oh man. It's not funny, I'm serious.
And players are taking the field Utah Wild taking on Colorado Alpenglow at home. Fans filling the stage as we are set. The stage is set for this final between two teams. Our observer squad is there in the middle, an all-female and non-binary observer team.
Yeah, Katie, this is something that the WL has committed to doing in its last 3 iterations of the championship weekend. Not only is our observer crew all female and non-binary, so is our commentary crew. This goes to the mission and values of the WL, which is the league bringing this game to you here on Championship Sunday.
Giving more people opportunities, and this matchup couldn't be closer. A razor-thin margin between these two teams as we see them line up. What is their key to the game?
For Utah Wild, it is stick to the plan. You heard it in the pregame interviews. They have been tenacious. They have been working their butts off. But here's the thing. They will be in your shorts. They have to stick to that plan. Believe in what got them to this moment, and that can rise them to this occasion.
Why not us? And also, why not Colorado?
So for Colorado, the keys to the game is going to be about persistence and patience. Again, Utah Wild is a team that has prided themselves on their person defense, and they're going to be in your shorts. For for Colorado Alpenglow, it's just going to be about being persistent and patient as that onslaught comes through. Find the right look. Make sure that you stay committed to your cuts, because if you start to hesitate, that's where Utah Wild pounces.
Utah Wild very efficient once they get the D. We've had some changeable weather conditions here, but at the moment, the flags lying low and the wind not picking up, the fans baking in the sun on that nice little hillside there. And it is hot on the field. You were down on the field for the previous game. Tell us about the conditions down.
And so here's the thing, it is deceptive. I know we saw the flag in the background. While it doesn't appear that there's a wind up there, below, underneath, actually there's a little bit of a current. There's still a definite upwind and downwind in this direction. As we're looking at the screens with our observers, that downwind is going from the left of the screen to the right, and for the upwind, again, it is slightly harder to go from the right to the left. That direction is very clear. You'll see it in some of these throws as they hang or as they fly.
Well, the third member of our broadcast team, Leah Smith, is on the sideline, feeling the energy as these two teams embrace for the flip. Leah, what are you seeing and feeling down there on the sideline?
Energy is really hyped right now. Both teams are so excited and showing love for their teammates. And I also want to shout out the crowd. Alpenglow has a ton of fans here, but there is a strong and loud Wild section. So I'm interested to see how the fan component plays in the momentum of this game.
Looking to see the crowd get wild for both teams as the flip happens, deciding where these teams will start.
Okay, Utah's going to start on defense. No. Okay, I'm going to have you switch sides. Clarity. Yep, Utah's going to start on defense. Colorado, you're going to receive.
As you heard with the observers, Colorado choosing the side after Utah Wild choosing to start on defense. Again, because there is that slight wind, I think that's a very smart call by Colorado, because while they may start on this quote downwind side where they're moving upwind for the first half of the game, it means in the second half of the game they will be starting moving downwind.
Utah Wild cheering, the coaches on the sideline, plotting, seeing how we're going to get together, and all smiles from both teams, but I feel like this is just the calm before the storm.
Oh, these two teams are ready to brawl. And I mean that figuratively, of course. But these two teams are teams who, again, their tenacity on defense is going to be what is showcased in today's game. And it's the ability of whatever O-line can really remain calm and collected and consistent is really, in my opinion, going to be the team that's going to come out in the win today.
Team huddles, that last boost of energy and focus.
I mean, this is the time where the coaches are really just reminding your players to stay in that moment, reminding your players what got you into this game. There is a lot to be said about the challenge of getting to this moment in such a short season. But that said, when you're in this moment, it's just about execution.
getting together, hyped up from the coaching staff.
Both of these coaching staffs are incredible. They are well-versed and well-acquainted with their teams. They understand what their teams need to have the energy and the focus to be able to execute in this game.
That was defensive specialist Thomas Eccles, but head coach of Colorado Alpenglow, Stephanie Schlosser, as actually a longtime former teammate of yours.
That is correct. I mean, I think having been in the sport for so long, and I think, Katie, this applies to you as well, we have the privilege of being able to say we've either played with, played against a lot of the people that we are seeing who are now leading these teams. These young people on the field, hey, I'm excited to just be here and be a fly on the wall and watch them play.
But knowing the coaching staff so well, these two teams, you can see Coach Joe Durst there in the t-shirt today, rocking it yesterday. He was rocking the Mega Fan jersey. But these two coaching staffs know each other really well. Does that play into this game?
I mean, familiarity breeds creativity. That's the thing. Because on the one hand, you know what the other team has, and so there's a question of, do you make some adjustments, or do you know what you're good at and tell your team that's the plan, that's what we're sticking with. And I think for Utah Wild, that's what I expect. I expect them to stick to that plan.
Well, Stacy Gaskill with the first pull for Wild. Upfield to McLaughlin. And resetting to Pesh. Seeing a lot of resets. Pesh moving it upfield to Levin. Tiptoeing on the sideline, finding Thorpe. McLaughlin upfield.
Getting higher, stall count.
Thorpe blades to the other side. Levin again digging it out, shooting to the end zone, but a stall called on Thorpe.
Again, this is a 7-second stall count. We didn't get to quite talk about the rule set for the WL, but if you've not seen a game like this before, this is a 7-second stall that is called by the players, and if you see the players indicating with their hand on top of their head, they've indicated that as the defensive player, I have hit 7 as a result of the stall. It should be a turnover. And it is upheld.
Players moving early. Defensive pressure from Utah, drying up all of the options that Thorpe had. Giving a break chance to Utah once we get this tapped in and moving. Nervy first couple of throws.
It's not even nervy. I think in many ways Utah does want to trap you in a corner and then huck it deep.
Bid and laying out, they wasted no time in one throw all the way back down, resetting Colorado on the end zone line.
And Colorado now having to go full 80 yards. Again, this field slightly longer than some of the other Ultimate games you may see on television.
Thorpe floating it. Levin to Thorpe. Chunking back up the field, finding McLaughlin. Nelson. Big pivot backhand. Thorpe breaking the mark. Levin was the intended receiver floating over their head, and Shigley not quite ready to pick up the floating trash. A second break opportunity.
And again, you can see where that wind starts to really pick up. Again, it's deceptive, but that's the reason that throw went a little bit higher over Levin's head.
On to the far side now. Ket slices a forehand into space. Gaskill and Levin marking each other, but
that was excellent defense by Levin. As we watch this replay, what you're going to see is that because Levin holds position, Gaskill has to then commit to that space instead of realizing that the disc is going to trail and fall over her head.
Yeah, Wynn taking that also just down, and Nelson calls a timeout.
Wow,
sitting on the field. It is the first point of the game.
But let's underscore how important this first point is. Colorado is having to move into this upwind direction. In so many ways, Utah has not a lot of risk in this game, or in this point, my apologies, which is why you're seeing them shoot deep. And especially with a target like Stacey Gaskill downfield, it is no surprise that that's what Utah is going to do on a turn. Colorado has to weather this, but right now, it's a matter of just reestablishing pacing and getting maybe some fresh legs right now, because it
I
is
don't know,
hot
find
on
Rory
this turf.
and Glenn once you get your line. Sawtooth, Kane. Who else? You got 7 now? Sweet.
Great. What are we on the turn?
We're going to the stack on the right side.
Okay.
On a turn. Flip.
Okay. But Rory, let's get that first one.
Yeah.
Here we go. Score.
Colorado calling the timeout. Nelson finding the smallest bit of shade as a fresh 7 players take the field for Colorado, accompanied by a fresh 7 set of defensive legs for Utah, as if that first bit of the first point didn't even happen, because we have not had a score yet.
But let's look at this clock right now. That was 3.5 minutes of play. Again, you can't tell right now, but this turf is typically 10 to 15 degrees warmer than what you're feeling on the outside air. So if it's 81 in the sky, it's still 95 on the ground.
And it's heating up, bidding to retain possession. McKee floats it up. Veldman just inside, foot down, releases a huge backhand, and too far for the intended receiver, Emily Grimes, giving Utah back the disc.
I would not be surprised right now to see a hop.
They have fresh legs, so I can't disagree with you. Vespera Aragon with the disc. Finding an outlet on the far side. Big throw going up and too far yet again. Another minute has bled off the clock. Another turnover apiece.
If I'm Utah Wild, I'm already thinking about these turns. These are just slightly rushed, or wasn't on the same page with the receiver. When you're going downwind, you really do need to take a breath and take a little off.
McKee to Kleinkopf.
Nice switch.
Utah switching on the handlers, trying to stop that motion. Floating, but corralled. Now to Sevier. Kleinkopf finds Veldman. Tightly defended. Justine Cherwink on the mark for Utah, making those resets very difficult. Leah on the sideline, feeling the heat. How is it down there?
It is hot, and the wind has definitely kicked up since those opening ceremonies. That was a contact call, which gave Colorado the chance to reset.
Veldman with the fake. Finding Kleinkopf as we get back underway. Sevier. Veldman denied.
And Utah Wild knew that was coming. Veldman is the person who is going to be throwing that disc deep. And I'm fairly certain we'll see it on the replay. There's just someone who puts their hands up.
And that was Amy Norris for Utah Wild. A very big block. Norris shooting deep again for no one.
Well, someone.
No one close enough.
In the end, it's another 80 yards for Colorado Alpenglow to have to move in this upwind direction.
5.5 minutes left, over half of the first quarter in this first point alone. Sevier battling, finds Veldman upfield in a vertical stack, very few options. Kleinkopf trying to make it there, but incomplete again. 3 turns for Veldman in this point.
Aragon over to pick up for the Wild.
Now Utah kind of on the different side of the field, not quite a space where you can ideally huck, but
Norris now with the disc. And a timeout from Utah this time. Stops play again.
We have a timeout on the field. Utah taking their first
and I
timeout
would
of
make
the
that
first
call
half.
if I was Utah Wild right now. At this point, put your O-line in. You are about 30 yards outside from a break that has taken more than half of this quarter almost.
And this has been the story of this point. Starting out with a turn here from Thorpe, forced in that high stall, and since then it's been bidding bodies but no receptions and scores, neither team being able to punch that ticket. I know we're at high altitude, but they're certainly trying to play some high flying ultimate today.
And these decisions right now aren't necessarily bad, but they're just not keyed in. For a lot of these throwers, I mean, they were warming up earlier, but when you really start to put that edge on these throws, especially now knowing that Leah is telling us that the wind has changed slightly, it is not surprising to see these miscues happening, especially this early in the game.
And yet again, we're gonna see fresh legs from both sides. Paige Kircher coming in to pick up the, Kat Songer's gonna pick up the disc. Paige Kircher is in the stack.
And this is a very common pull or play out of a timeout.
Songer to Kircher. Finding Stanislavski. Haruzhnikova shoots for the end zone, and it is a turn for Kayak.
That's a tough turnover. It's a tough turnover because it was a throw that if it had just taken a half second longer would have been a completion.
Yeah, it was about 8 minutes ago when we started this point. Colorado starting on offense, so this would be a hold for Colorado.
And this is their D-line right now.
Dietrich throwing upfield. And a big layout reception from Maddie Boyd. Up, Daniels floating it, and Dietrich gets the score and the hold for the home team.
That was an earned point. It was definitely an earned point. That utilized effectively the entire roster to get that goal. But nice work in just holding once you got to this space and then just going to the far side of the field and using the wind to your advantage here, where the disc got to hang, allowing Dietrich to just come down underneath it.
Daniels there with the assist, and this layout grab from Boyd put Colorado within striking distance, and then they cemented that score with Dietrich alone in the end zone.
That was 1 point. And we have 3 minutes and 53 seconds left in this quarter. There's going to be a lot to be said about, can Utah Wild effectively and efficiently score up wind right now? Or are we about to see another messy point?
Bassett Carmen with the pull. Sitting and floating, centered to Kircher. Lily Terpstra with the disc. Finding Haruzhnikova. Kircher making that reset look easy. Kendra Miller upfield to Songer on that sideline. Songer shooting and falling out of bounds. Dietrich makes sure, and Colorado has its first break chance.
It's funny to say first break chance, but that's right, Kitty. The last point was just a hold for Colorado.
I don't think that we can call that first point a just anything. Veldman now with the disc for Colorado. Finding that skinny sideline. Daniels. Bassett Carmen. Dixon falling to the turf, but getting up. Carolyn Black upfield to McLaughlin, launching one. Veldman in pursuit. Stoller cannot get the D. Veldman gets the break, coming down hard. But it's 2-0 Colorado.
And that's just trusting your receiver. That's McLaughlin just putting the disc up in the air, recognizing there's a nice mismatch between Waller and
Colorado 2,
Veldman.
Utah 0.
And as messy as that first point was, it was a clean hold for Colorado going downwind. Veldman now up and walking, which is what you want to see.
And we saw this yesterday. Again, the wind in many ways becomes a mechanism by which you can develop and create separation with the other team. If you're able to score in this end zone, the end zone that now that Utah Wild is in, then when you are able to move in the other direction, it's much easier to score.
A fresh D-line for Colorado Alpenglow and a similar offensive line anchored by Kircher for Wild as that pull lands out of bounds.
It is out of bounds on the pull.
And you can already see that both teams have moved away from what I think I would call their starting lines. They've already started to mix things up.
Terpstra starting with the disc. And a D off that first throw, the young player giving it up. Sevier, 2 players in the end zone. McLaughlin looking. Lavoie. Banis, Lavoie, moving the disc. Still outside the end zone, finding a player too far.
That's a tough corner to try and score into. Again, because of the wind, you have to either put it right in front of the player or right in the player's hands. Anything leading is just going to carry too far.
Intended for Caroline McKee. Now guarding Paige Kircher, who unhesitatingly puts it deep for Kendra Miller, the track star for BYU. The World Games player is there and resets up high. Stanislawski gets it. Back to Songer. And Kircher all the way across the field is Terpstra. Stanislawski inside and denied. Vern Beetle Moorcroft
over to pick up.
Getting the D there for Colorado.
Another break opportunity for Colorado, moving upwind.
Only 41 seconds on the clock. They could have ran it out, but instead give the disc back to Wild.
And knowing this is an important aspect, Katie, we didn't get to talk about it at the top of the broadcast, but these quarters do not end when that clock hits 0. The quarters end when you see a loss of possession. So in this instance right now, as long as Utah can keep possession.
Kircher, high stall, turning it over, Sevier. Beetle Moorcroft, back to Sevier. And again, a change of possession. Terpstra gets the D, shooting herself deep. Kircher electing to go to Songer.
No need at this point to have to move the disc fast. Keep possession to the end of the quarter.
If you have an outlet, Kircher in pursuit, and Kircher with the goal. 2 seconds remain on the clock.
And I know Utah needed the point. They needed the point, but now you have given Colorado the last possession. Even though there are 2 seconds on this clock, the second that disc is pulled, it is Colorado's disc until they turn it or they score. That is how this quarter will end.
2 seconds left in the quarter. 1 final possession.
Many turns again in that point, but it was a Utah hold at the end of the day. Songer to Kircher.
And those two know each other so well, and that's a break throw coming from Songer, and just floating it and utilizing just the wind and understanding Kircher's speed and making it an easy catch in the end zone.
In the dwindling moments as we see Stacy Gaskill pull, we want to say that Discraft is the presenting sponsor and official disc of the WL. Visit discraft.com to purchase your favorite disc today. Maybe you can learn to pull and let the disc fly just like that. Out of bounds and giving Ari Nelson the disc in the middle of the field.
Again, this is the same Ari Nelson who we saw under a table after that first point.
Out to the far side, Thorpe shooting long, McLaughlin in pursuit, Ito gets the score! They had 2 seconds and they made it count. Thorpe to Ito.
An aggressive throw choice, but one that works for this team. Abby Thorpe just assessing the field, recognizing that the far side of the field is open and putting that disc out. And Ito with the legs, the speed to be able to close this disc down and secure the disc.
It has been high flying, only 4 points in the first quarter, but exciting play. Stay tuned for more in the Western Ultimate League Championship game.
Moving, that's the method, and I'm moving on to rep it. The suburbs, how I let it land, beats down on the structures. Riling up the juice, and I'm stirring up a ruckus. Stay hurting instrumentals, putting rappers on the crutches. Rebels of the ages, get your own places. Cook yourself something, stop living in the basement. I'm 5 stars, why waste your time to rate it? Chuck the hater raid, bitch, I'm always hydrated. I made a finger to the sky, cause so sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing. I had love a goodbye, cause I live in better, make each other do my own thing. I made a finger to the sky, cause so sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing.
Hopefully I can catch it this spot. Oh man. It's not funny, I'm serious.
Teams huddling in this championship game. Colorado Alpenglow out to a 3-1 lead over Utah Wild. Only 4 points played in what felt like an eon of a first quarter.
And this underscores just how much these teams want it. They are going to play hard. They're going to keep running. They're going to make these risks in many ways, because a lot of what we saw in that first quarter was risk-taking and assessments of kind of getting what the spacing feels like, what the feel feels like, what your teammates are doing today. I'm going to see us actually tighten up in this quarter. I think that now we've gotten these turns out of our system. I suspect what we're going to see is more efficient ultimate in the second quarter.
Well, there were 17 turns in that first quarter. The possession game that you wanted them to play, not the story there, but we're going to see if any sort of adjustments can be made.
Well, hang on, Katie, because again, for Colorado, they weathered a very aggressive storm in that first point alone, and they were able to find and hold out of that, which is what allowed them to get the double break. For Utah Wild, I want them to keep shooting. That is what got them to this point. And so if we're thinking about these keys to the game, for Utah Wild, yes, that was a quarter. There were things that they wish they could have done, but they can need to stick to this plan and understand that it will pay off.
And it's only a two-point game.
Well, yeah.
Only one break happening in that game. Kircher to Songer as Utah starts on offense, and Sevier laying out, but Karuzhnikova saying it was in her hand.
Now, this is always a tough part of the game, because as a defensive player, as you're reaching for that disc, it may slow down sometimes because the offensive player is catching it. We're going to see the replay right here. And the question will always come down to, and as part of the rules of the game, if there is a what we call tie to the disc, the offense will retain possession. Great angle here.
Foul call is upheld by the observer. Possession will stay with the
Sevier was hunting, but Haruzhnikova is awarded the disc. Tie going to offense, and Stanislavski gives it back to Colorado.
Bristol Lavoie with a takeaway. Disc over to Alpenglow.
Upfield, Grimes leads Sevier out to the far side, still outside the end zone. Swarming Colorado players. It's Beetle Moorcroft with the disc to Dixon, and the Colorado break.
And just nice, patient, finding the right space. Once you got the turnover there, I think that was Lavoie with the turn, and then just being able to get into the end zone set. You could hear Coach Joe Durst yelling at his team, get in line, get in line, get in line. Again, starting with this aggressive D coming out from Colorado.
I also want to highlight what a clean angle she took, never taking there, and then the defensive pressure put on, giving Colorado the disc back, and Dixon sliding at the front of the end zone line for that score from Beetle Moorcroft. Almost a push pass.
Well, in so many ways, it's kind of smart with this wind, right?
And Bristol Lavoie, the player with that anticipation block. 4-1, Colorado is up.
Now Utah Wild having to move in this upwind direction. It's one of the reasons you're seeing these poles land so far.
Floating there, the crowd reacting. Moving upfield. Kate Moulton. Diving is Mackenzie Finnegan. Alex Daniels picking up for Colorado.
Daniels picks up.
Floating to Dixon. A big break opportunity for Colorado. Inside shot goes past Dietrich and flutters to the back end zone line.
That is a tough angle to hit. That wind is going to create basically a cannon coming out, and that's what carried that disc, and Dietrich just couldn't stop momentum in the direction she was moving.
Well, I think that inside skinny angle is hard to hit. A split by Daniels trying to step out far enough. Difficult to hit without the wind, but Gaskill has the disc. Big backhand going up in pursuit, turning down the field outside the end zone line. Justine Cherwink on the brink, resetting the disc to Moulton, and the score for Utah all the way down the field, started by that huck, and it is a score needed by Utah. D. Bozone getting the tally on that one.
And that's what you need if you're Utah Wild. You need players who are going to help stretch the field out. You have great receivers on Utah Wild who can run these discs down, and once they get into the end zone, they are very difficult to stop.
Putting on the Jets, Cherwink gets there in the possession, and it's Moulton with the assist.
And Gaskill now back on the field.
And what hasn't been said about Stacey Gaskill? Stacey Gaskill is an Olympian with the U.S. snowboarding team. She has been in the semifinals of college nationals 3 times with Colorado Quandary. She is a shape-changing defender because she's so tall, and she has huge pulls, like you can see there as Utah gets back within 2, and that disc lands
in bounds.
bounds.
And this is the danger of Stacey, is that now Colorado is pinned to the back of the end zone.
Pesh with the disc, finding Ito. Pesh flying upfield, Shigley unaware, maybe intended for her, but Colorado giving Utah a break chance.
See a deep shot coming. Oh no.
Sarah Judd fumbles and gives the disc to Colorado. Pesh upfield for Abby Thorpe. Nelson in the reset space, staying in bounds. Thorpe choosing not to hit Ito, finding Shigley instead. Not a lot of options upfield for Shigley.
Now seeing that vertical stack, but an unintended D. It counts.
Wallen with that D. A hammer is an unnecessary turn. Nelson with the disc in their hands. Finding Shigley. Still not many options upfield. Nelson colliding.
And there will be a stoppage here. The question will be this contact. Both players ending up on the ground. I think the question is going to come down to, as the observer walks over into the space, was it contact that took place before the disc got there?
Ari Nelson with the disc for Alpenglow.
Both players getting back up. Shortall on the mark after creating that contact. Nelson snagging it out of the sky, unleashing up over the stack. Players jump, but who catches it? None other than Abby Thorpe.
That throw went over every single person on the field.
Ari Nelson to the end zone for Abby Thorpe in the Alpenglow score.
Just a flat throw with just enough height, aiming for the back of the end zone. Whether Abby Thorpe knew it was coming or not, it was a perfectly placed throw there by Nelson.
If there is a player that is constantly hunting for a score in the end zone, it is absolutely Thorpe. We saw a couple of turnovers apiece, some fumbles, and some exciting Ds. But I think it was really this throw by Nelson. You can see the effort, but nobody but Thorpe had a chance to get that disc.
And Thorpe was actually moving in the other direction. But again, credit Ari Nelson's throw. Thorpe was able to then reassess, reestablish back, and just clap catch for the easy grab.
Pull by Veldman. That one's going to sail out of bounds.
This is out of bounds on the pole.
This wind really giving us a clinic on these downwind pulls.
And the sign there is Alpenglow loves Greta. That is for Greta Dietrich, mother to Aubrey Dietrich, one of the defensive players for Alpenglow. Alpenglow has filled the stands, but there's plenty of people who couldn't be here today, so we are very happy to be able to bring that stream to them. And a hand block by Colorado, Haley Banis, with the buns and the stop. Shooting inside, intended for Veldman.
Still a hard angle to hit. Utah Wild getting the disc back. It's interesting to see that we are now seeing Paige Kircher pick up the disc. That wasn't who picked up the disc to start that offensive sequence.
It's one thing we've seen this season is Kircher actually coming out of the stack more often. But when you can unleash throws like that and make connections, that one was Kendra Miller with the reception. Songer getting the reset, back to Miller, churning to Kircher. Kendra Miller is fun to watch. Stanislawski now with the disc to Kircher. The Utah handlers far enough away that Colorado can't switch, and they switch up the field, turning, and it is a reception for Utah Wild, Sarah Stoller.
And in so many ways, a mimic of what we saw in the last point as well. A throw just to the top that goes to the back corner, over folks' head, but enough that just floats and sits in that space. Because again, you are moving in that upwind direction.
There was a hand block, there was a turnover, but after that, Utah marches it down the field after this huge throw by Paige Kircher, fielded by Kendra Miller, and it was Terpstra to Stoller for the score.
And this is the power of Paige Kircher for this offensive line. It's the ability to be able to either pick up the disc and from a standstill, hop to a space, which is a very hard skill set in and of itself. But Katie, you're right. One of the things we've been seeing a lot with Utah Wild is that Paige has been hiding herself in that stack, coming out and trying to get a disc in motion in what we call a power position. Again, that's just being able to catch the disc, turn around, and be able to throw to a continuation cutter.
Utah on defense, another huge pull, putting Colorado back into their own end zone. Nelson wastes no time getting upfield. Levin shooting deep. Thorpe in pursuit, running it down. Ito now making the next deep cut. Thorpe doesn't put it, finds Pesh instead. The crowd groans, but Colorado keeps possession. Ito getting the score in the end. The cheeky one-footed grab to keep it in the end zone.
I mean, Ito has a nose for the end zone, and the nice thing is that you're seeing Ito spreading that disc out, or spreading the field out, making it so that Utah Wild can't really contain space anymore, which then gives a lot more opportunities for Colorado Alpenglow to find the end zone.
A clean hold for Colorado, working more than 80, starting back into their own end zone.
And interesting to note right now, it's only 6 points for Colorado Alpenglow, but 6 different throwers for those assists. And 5 different receivers for those goals. Ito the only one at this point with 2 goals.
Kircher and Songer, the handler duo, for Wild on the line as they have this offensive line. Centering up to Kircher, to Terpstra, to Stanislawski, and Miller running out of that vertical stack. Kircher lays out to retain possession. Songer under pressure by Sevier.
Pick is called. And again, we can tell that the pick is called because for those on the watching at home, when you see the 2 arms out to the side looking like you're pumping iron, that's a pick call.
Finding Kircher, Kircher puts it into the break space intended for Stacy Gaskill, but she didn't have the gas to go get that one.
Well, it's not even the gas, that throw dropped so fast, and so Gaskill could not recover.
Kleinkoff picking up Beetle Moorcroft. Dietrich. Finding Dixon. Shooting inside to Jade McLaughlin. Chunking up yard, Sevier. McLaughlin guarded by Kendra Miller. A fun matchup. Shooting across to the other side. Facet, Carmen to Daniels. And the break for Colorado Alpenglow to extend their lead.
Well, the Facet, Carmen to the end zone for Alex Daniels, and the Alpenglow score. Colorado 7.
And that started with McLaughlin just getting the disc out of this corner of the field, this bottom corner. Again, this looking at the turnover here, or the possession save from Kircher.
And McLaughlin blade going up. Daniels with the reception. Efficient work from Colorado on that break.
Now 7 different throwers with assists.
Coach Stephanie Schlosser talking to that defensive line. We've seen leads in games this weekend, and we've seen them slip away.
Again, this is only the second quarter of this game. We still have 3 minutes and 20 seconds left. You still have a powerhouse of a Utah Wild team who knows how to be able to change fortunes very quickly.
Inside shooting pass, giving Colorado back the disc. Looking in pursuit, a huge defensive effort from Utah. D. Bozone over Lavoie.
And what a great D that almost could have been caught.
D. Bozone with that D in the end zone. Just over to the Wild.
A timeout being called by Utah. Disc is going to go back where it was
We'll have a timeout on the field.
called in. The second timeout of the half for Utah.
Remember the first timeout? All in the first point. But again, this is another aspect of the rule sets for the WL. We're looking at this replay of the last point. Great D.
If Lavoie had thought that it was available 1 second more, but D. Bozone closes that space, lays out. I think we can forgive her for not catching that D with the possession-saving defensive block there.
And now an opportunity for Wild to put their O-line back on. Again, on timeouts, which are called typically by coaches on the sideline, all players can be substituted in, and in this instance, we are seeing Utah Wild going back to their traditional offensive line. Again, understanding the stakes of where we are in the second quarter. It's down 4 points, but needing this score.
Ruzhnikova there in the foreground. It is her birthday today, so happy birthday to Kayak. I think she would like to be a little bit higher on the stat board, so maybe she can get a score for her birthday.
I mean, I think that's what people's birthday wishes are, right?
Stat line. Obviously, in talking with Utah earlier in the tournament, they said, why not us? But they also said, might be fun. Might be fun to win a championship, so why not try? A defensive block by Colorado denies that hope. Boyd. Not a lot of options, finding Lavoie. Floating. Veldman elevates for Alpenglow and the break.
What a grab by Veldman. I really thought this was going to be a D, but Veldman elevates into that space and leaves no doubt.
Veldman is all smiles after this. Inside shot going through traffic. Earlier in this point, we saw that layout block giving the disc to Utah. And Utah, despite the intense defensive effort, not able to retain possession, giving it to Colorado, and Veldman the opportunity to elevate.
Lavoie with the assist, and again, Colorado utilizing and recognizing the strengths of who they have in the backfield, putting the disc up only where Veldman could get it.
This defensive line for Colorado has been putting in work. Utah unable to make inroads.
And this is a space where I do think Utah Wild is feeling the absence of Abby Davis, who was unavailable to play today.
Making a huge impact for Wild yesterday, but it really has to be the players on the field. Utah Wild knew who they were bringing to this team, and they are confident with their players. Kircher faking, high kick block attempts, and Jade McLaughlin picking the pocket of Kendra Miller. Uncontested in the end zone, Jade McLaughlin with the bookends.
And we said this a lot yesterday, this bookend aspect and mentality that is McLaughlin, getting the D, finding the end zone, putting an exclamation mark on a break opportunity.
3 breaks in a row, you can see there, and it is this throw from Carolyn Black, who didn't play yesterday, but getting an assist to McLaughlin, who is so excited after 3 breaks in a row.
Okay, I'm going to keep saying this stat because it gets more and more impressive. Now we have 9 points for Colorado Alpenglow, 9 different throwers.
Jade McLaughlin with her celebration song as the Pokemon theme song. Gotta catch them all.
And the really fun aspect of this weekend has been being able to play a choice song for each player if they score.
A minute and a half on the clock as Utah tries to stop the break energy of Colorado. Newer players out on the line, trying to lean into their depth.
A pick is called.
Pick called.
Shortall holding the disc. Pre-stall starts. Shortall breaking. Finding that reset outlet. Deep ozone. Upfield. And too far. Intended for Kate Moulton.
Burnbeetle more crossed over to pick up for Alpenglow.
Colorado takes a deep breath before they get into action. Lavoie with the disc to Veldman. Veldman upfield.
Looking downfield.
Sevier puts it up. And the emphatic score and spike. Emily Grimes with the reception. A 7-point lead for Colorado Alpenglow.
And there's still 15 seconds left in this quarter. Katie, we started this quarter 3-1. 3-1 we started this quarter. And again, because it's so important to talk about this, with those 10 points, we have 10 different Alpenglow players with assists.
And we have seen too many turns from Utah. Close, but not close enough, giving the Colorado Alpenglow players opportunities, and they have not given the disc back. Clean breaks, and it was 4 in a row for Colorado breaks.
It feels daunting, yes. 15 seconds left. This is going to be effectively the last possession of this half. And we see the roller pole.
Songer to Terpstra. Disc on the far side. Time is out. Utah has the possession. Can they get the score? Upfield to Miller.
And right now, Colorado playing a bit of a junky look, sags, lots of switches right now. I think making it hard for Utah Wild to find the open person.
Stanislawski. To Miller on the inside. Floating over Terpstra as the disc hit the turf. That is it for Utah's chance in the first half. That concludes the first half, but more to come from championship weekend.
Utah Wild 3.
It is halftime in the championship game of the Western Ultimate League Championship weekend. Utah Wild down 3 to Colorado Alpenglow 10. On the sideline, we're talking with Kendra Miller from Utah Wild. Down in this game, but Kendra, should we count you out?
I gotta say no. No. D-line's doing their job. They're putting in work, and now it's up to O-line to find it and start doing our job. So don't count us out.
I don't think anyone is counting you out. I think the question, of course, is we're going to see those deep looks start to connect. It's obviously that Utah Wild loves being able to see those deep looks. You are a common target in that space, and it's just a matter of getting that final pass into that end zone. Would you agree?
Yeah. I think we need to calm down a bit, take the easy shots. We're still adjusting to the wind. It's pretty swirly and a little gusty. And I think what really needs to happen is on a turn, we need to start locking down more on defense.
All right, well, we wish you luck in the fluttering wind to lock it down on defense and give us more high-flying plays. Thank you for your time, Kendra Miller.
Thank you.
And now at halftime, we have been giving out the season awards at every halftime this weekend to celebrate the players of all of the teams in different categories. It's one of my favorite things that we've done at the league level.
Yeah, Katie, so again, using this halftime, we've been giving out season awards that were decided both by the players, by coaches, and by you, the fans at home, being able to contribute and give us the finalists of this category as well as the winners for these particular categories.
Please turn your attention to the field.
And as the players rest, we are going to
for the 2024 Offensive Player of the Year.
The annual WL Awards honor outstanding players who have made meaningful and noteworthy contributions to the league and their teams. Each nominee exemplifies excellence in their respective roles. The Offensive Player of the Year nominees are players who had the most significant impact on their team's offensive success throughout the season. From Seattle Tempest, Cheryl Sue. From Bay Area Falcons, Han Chen. From Arizona Sidewinders, LP Aragon. From Arizona Sidewinders, Paige Applegate. And from Colorado Alpenglow, Ari Nelson. Cheryl Sue was Seattle Tempest's most important offensive player. Her 8 goals and 10 assists led the team, and her 1,619 throwing yards were more than twice as many other players on the team. Her throwing yards were 4th in the league. Her teammates said Sue is a playmaker on both sides of the disc who brings relentless consistency to her offense. Han Chen was essential to Bay Area's offensive success. Her 17 assists led the team by 9, and her 2002 total yards were almost twice as many as the next highest total. She tallied 5 goals with less than 1 receiving error. Chen's teammates described her as the smoothest player in the league. LP Aragon led the league in throwing yards with 2,030. Her 551 throwing yards in Week 5 was the second most recorded in a single game in league history. She tallied 18 assists, the second most in the league, and 12.8 yards per possession, and was described by her teammates as humble, unbelievably talented, and with the best hucks in the league, hands down. Paige Applegate's arsenal of breakthrows were vital to Arizona's offensive success. She had the highest offensive efficiency on the team, the highest usage, and the 3rd highest completion percentage. She had 216 completions, 12 assists, 1,841 effective yards, 2 goals, and 3 blocks for the season. Her teammates described her as calm, cool, and collected, and capable of breaking the mark in any position. Ari Nelson's 23 assists led the league and tied for the most assists in a single season. Their 2007 throwing yards were 2nd in the league, and of the 7 players who threw for more than 1,500 yards, Nelson had fewer than 5 throwing errors than anyone else. Her teammates praised her ability to open up any defense with her range of throws. Please put your hands together for all of our incredible finalists for Offensive Player of the Year. And to announce the winner, please welcome our league commissioner, Megan Andrews.
Your 2024 Western Ultimate League Offensive Player of the Year is Ari Nelson.
The Colorado Alpenglow stands erupt, but not as much as their teammates. Ari Nelson being celebrated and overcome with emotion. Well deserved by them.
30% of their hucks. Their 16 huck completions were most in the league by 5. Colorado's O-line scored on just 23% of their possessions without Nelson on the field, compared to 50% of possessions with Nelson. They were nominated for Player of the Week twice and finished the season with the highest offensive impact score among handlers in the league. Congratulations, Ari Nelson and Colorado Alpenglow.
Nelson making a huge impact for this team, but not having to make as much of an impact in this game because it has been all Colorado D-line setting up those scores, the Nelson to Thorpe connection. But it's really the story of Colorado's full team as they lead by 7 points, 10-3 at half.
Katie, I agree and acknowledge that for today we are now getting to celebrate a depth of Colorado Alpenglow, but I just want to take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate Ari Nelson's contribution to this league. You can see the emotion on their face. These awards and this recognition is hard for these players to get, and when they have that opportunity to be celebrated for the things that they are good at and the things that they love to do, you see that emotion start to show on their faces, and I love that. That's the moments I live for when we talk about this league and what this league is bringing to you at home and to the folks here in this audience. This is an opportunity to celebrate women and non-binary athletes, and there is no better celebration than acknowledging the contributions that Ari Nelson has had to this game.
Absolutely, and throughout the weekend in the league, seeing players be able to make such an impact for their teams as well as be celebrated on this stage. It's a real privilege, but we have more games to play.
We have a half, that's absolutely true, and I am willing Utah Wild back into this game because I know that we have not seen their peak in this game, and I know that this team is desiring to and is looking forward to being able to showcase what got them into this moment, which is utilizing that team dynamic and that energy and that winner-take-all and that grit. They have it, and I believe we will see it in the second half.
Well, it's not just winner take all, it's winner take trophy, winner take championship. And that's what we're playing for. If there is a fan base that could will a team on from afar, it is the Utah Wild fan base. They are known from the youth level all the way through to really support, and that's what they're going to need. A little help from afar.
Oh, their watch parties get wild. That's what I hear, and I think that's the reason they have the name, to be honest.
Once again, our halftime score here in this 2024 Western Ultimate League Championship game, Colorado Alpenglow 10.
As we are about to start the second half.
You can see Stacey Gaskell looking for a disc. Again, in this instance now, Utah Wild, which started the first half up top, is now starting the second half down here at the bottom half of your screen.
Well, Utah's D-line is going to have to get their legs underneath them. Starting with a break wouldn't be a bad start to the first half.
And let's be clear, we haven't seen much of Stacey Gaskell, and I don't think that that's going to be a storyline that holds true in this game.
Pole goes up, and we are underway in second half action. Landing out of bounds. Nelson is going to bring it in at the brick mark. Tight person defense from Utah. Thorpe unleashing Ito in pursuit over their head and inbounds. Excellently read by Ito, stomping out the hopes of Utah and notching another one on the scoreboard for Alpenglow.
It's very clear now Colorado has a sense of what this wind can and cannot do, and they're just finding the receivers now and executing in a way that has just jaw-dropping results. These are contested but also not contested looks.
Wallen in pursuit on that D, but it was all Ito putting on the wet bandana to try to keep cool in this heat.
That's 3 goals for Ito, leading all players in this game.
One in each of the quarters. It is now the offensive line for Utah. If they're gonna make a run, could it start now? Digging themselves deeply into a hole. Terpstra fielding the pull. Kircher and Songer. Miller cutting underneath but looked off. Aware on the sideline. Harushnikova tried to get it on a second effort, giving Colorado the close field. Dixon puts it up and over. Alicia Dixon.
A little cheeky throw over the top.
An upside down score. All smiles. Up and over the top to McLaughlin.
And you can feel Wild feeling a little shell-shocked right now. Not being able to hit those resets, and that's a lot of where these turnovers are happening, which is in the reset. You get a cutter with the disc, and they're just not able to connect with one of their handlers and just overthrowing the disc just slightly.
Crowd migrating to try to find the tiny bits of shade. Feldman on the pole. This Colorado defensive line has been almost unstoppable after the first point, which was a miracle.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be said about how much that might have thrown off Wild's plan and ability to be able to run into the rhythm that I think that they needed. And now the O-line is playing a little bit out of sorts.
Terpstra, upfield, Castique Williams. Miller, upfield, Songer cutting upline. Kircher lays out to retain possession. Fakes the hammer. And a D by Veldman. A stall called. Grimes was on her way to the end zone. Harushnikova coming off, all sorts of things happening in that point.
So again, we see a number of things happening. They're going to have to deal with all of them. The first is that there is a stall called. Again, Kircher with that possession-saving grab kind of kept onto the disc for a little too long, looking for the reset, and by the time the disc goes up, you are already seeing the Colorado player indicating that their stall was. So that in some ways negates this D, but the disc stays in the middle of the field. Colorado now with the disc.
Veldman to McKee. Back to Beetle Moorcroft. Veldman. Big flick. A pick called before the throw went up. Involved.
And so the question that's happening right now is if they're not close enough to call the pick, the observer can override that pick call, which would allow the disc to stay, but it looks like the disc is going to go back.
Upheld, Castique Williams catching up to Maddie Boyd as the disc comes back to Veldman. Guarded by Gaskell. Snagged out of the air by McKee. formerly playing for UCLA, known as Ace, and that grab was, but the throw was not. Veldman falling down.
And I'm very glad that Veldman was not hurt. That looked like such an awkward fall.
Gaskill tries to shoot for Kircher in the end zone, picked off. Veldman goes the other way. Grimes in pursuit, guarded by Kendra Miller. Grimes inbounds as the rest of the field catches up, tapping the disc back live. Boyd with the disc, shooting, and it's Grimes again for the score for Colorado. Colorado cannot be stopped.
And this is just Colorado stretching the field out, making it so that Utah Wild can't ever set the D, and just finding the receivers in that deep space. Utah Wild playing underneath, and as a result, you're seeing, looking at this possession-saving grab from Kircher, but that resulted in that turnover. And then we see another turnover here, but Veldman just looking downfield, finding Grimes. Grimes chasing this disc down, looking to see if they can keep their foot in bounds. What a nice call by that observer.
And then Grimes putting it back in. Boyd getting the score. Eight straight points for Colorado.
And in these 13 points, 12 different players with assists.
Utah's last score to bring it to 5-3. And since then, Colorado has not let Utah get on the board. Gaskill going deep, far side, trying to keep it in, and it is out. Player coming up short after that long run.
And looking like there might have been an injury after trying to just slow down. That's number 8 on Utah Wild, Sarah Judd.
Gaskill trying to put Judd into space, disc coming out, looking where the cone is, and just coming up a little short, out of bounds. Those non-contact injuries are always the ones that stop my heart, but coaches there as Judd crawls off the field. We're gonna have a presentation there, but Manisha, an 8-point run in finals in this league. Coming into this game, we expected this game to be really close.
I mean, the history tells us it was supposed to be close. If you look at the 2 previous matchups between Colorado and Utah Wild, first game it was 13-15 in Colorado's favor. Second game was 19-18 in Wild's favor. The disparity that we are seeing here has simply not been seen thus far. Now, acknowledge and credit that Colorado has clearly come to play. They do have the ability of having that crowd behind them, but this Utah Wild team has felt very much out of sorts since that first point.
Carrie Shelkey coming in for the injury as Colorado goes. Daniels with the disc, intended for Dietrich. Dietrich out of her hands. The club teammates cannot connect. Gaskill now with the disc. Unhesitating with the backhand. Again, too strong for Gaskill.
That would have gone another 30 yards had that fence not been there.
At least.
And you can see what Utah Wild is trying to do. They're trying to get themselves back into the game, and one of the quickest ways to do that is with these deep threats and deep throws. But right now, these Utah Wild players are just not connecting on those deep looks. It's not enough to simply throw the disc deep. You have to have a receiver, and you have to have that throw with pace to make that a viable deep look.
Dixon to Kleinkopf. Finding Facet Carmen. Daniels with the sliding second effort grab. Big throw going up, 2 players in pursuit. Shea Wallen with the D. A much needed energy boost.
And then just turns it right back over.
These opportunities being squandered on first throw turnovers, giving Colorado an even shorter field. Daniels trying to shoot for the middle. finding Black. Bassett Carmen upfield, the bidding player, but Kleinkopf with the focus D, putting it to the other side between two players. And Utah gets another D in their own end zone.
I mean, this is where Utah Wild can capitalize on what appears to be a little bit of looseness in that Colorado offense right now.
Finnegan picking up the disc to Gaskill. Gaskill shooting deep again.
Finding a receiver.
Debo zone. Upfield. They haven't scored in the last 8 points. They're on the doorstep, and they do it. Bozone with the score, sapping the Colorado energy and giving Utah their first point in the second half.
The strategy finally paying off. Now again, is this the first of many? Hopefully. But what we're seeing is at least a little bit more patience coming out of Utah Wild, and Stacey Gaskill finally calibrating that throw, finding a receiver downfield, and then allowing those Utah Wild players to do the rest.
Bozone has had some high-flying plays this game, a D, but that score has got to feel good. That was the one we saw from Wallen earlier in the point. A couple of turns. And after that score, we're going to go down to the third member of our broadcast crew, Leah Smith, with an injury update.
With this game being so intense and so hot, and we saw this in the third place game, there are a lot of injuries being called. Judd tweaked her ankle and is going to ice it, so we'll see how long she's out for. She's a key player to the Wild team.
Well, we hope she joins the field again, because Colorado has built themselves an impressive lead. Pole lands out of bounds, so Nelson is going to center the disc. There's been a lot of out-of-bounds poles in this game.
Yeah, in that upwind direction, it's tricky because it's not only just a straight upwind downward, but it's also a cross, which is why we're seeing some of these poles land on the close side or the bottom of your screen if you're at home.
Nelson throwing to lefty Pesh and back to Nelson. Colorado currently content to move it with their handlers. Shigley finding Levin. Levin upfield, Thorpe in pursuit all the way to the end zone. Doesn't even have to lay out after turning on the Jets. The Torpedo does it again.
Was that something you just made up?
It seems to fit.
That's nice.
Utah 4.
13 different Colorado Alpenpool players with assists now. 13.
Levin made a big impact in that semifinal game and getting the assist here. But Abby Thorpe with such a nose for the end zone. Abby Thorpe, in only 2 seasons with Alpenglow, is the goals leader of the league in the regular season.
And already for today's game, 2 goals, 2 assists for Abby Thorpe.
4.5 minutes to play in the third quarter. Veldman set to pull. And there's got to be some good pictures of Rory Veldman pulling, and we would like to thank Ulti Photos for their coverage of the 2024 WL Championship weekend. Ulti Photos is the premier provider of ultimate photography in the US and Canada. Follow at Ulti Photos on social media and head over to ultiphotos.com to view layouts like that one. Kendra Miller shooting to the end zone. Kircher. It's a clean score for Utah. They haven't done that in the second half, making it look easy. The Utah Wild we're used to seeing.
And that entire possession saved, allowing this score to happen. I hope we see that replay right here. Watch this layout.
Aruzhnikova with the layout, but it's Kircher with the goal from Kendra Miller. giving 5 points to Utah, but they trail by 9.
That is the second goal for Kircher. Again, a player that we expected to see as the player who's going to be throwing the goals, but currently right now leading all Utah Wild players, actually tied for goals scored, as well with D. Bozone, both with 2.
And Stacey Gaskill with the pull. Landing inbounds, giving them a little extra time to run down and set their defense. Pesh with the disc in the middle of the field. A flat up mark, a little bit of a different look, trying to force Colorado to do something different. Levin on the sideline, marked by Gaskill. A difficult read over the top of the defender to Nelson. And in the middle of the field is Bailey Shigley. A huge layout block. D. Bozone does it again, gives Utah a break opportunity.
What an incredible layout, D. That is 2 for Bozone, both in spectacular fashion. Now can Utah Wild capitalize in this moment? Can they claw back into this game? They're gonna have to keep this disc.
Flying upfield, Gaskill in pursuit, and it's the bid and the turn.
I really wanted that to be caught. Gaskill just dinking that disc off of her hand. Moulton not able to corral that back in.
Moulton with his second effort. Now Colorado with the disc again. We're seeing a little bit more of a flat mark from Utah. Thorpe on the far side, now going upfield. Back to Thorpe. Really using the full width of the field well, as Colorado can't necessarily move vertically until now. And a big flick going up, but Shea Wallen plucking it out of the sky to Gaskill. Gaskill shooting deep again. Bozone with the reception. No one
around.
Thorpe and Norris trying to get possession.
Yes, back to Alpenlow on the Wild turn.
Wallen calling an injury. Slowing down the momentum of that point.
Wild taking a step.
Looks like a cramp. And again, I think we heard it from Leah earlier. This turf is hot. This is day 2. The temperatures are getting warmer. It is not surprising at this point to see some of these cramp type of injury calls happening at this stage.
New players from both teams, 1 apiece, the injured player and then the corresponding player from the other team. Fresh legs are important. Nelson is going to have possession as players start to move. Nelson finding Levin. Upfield, Pesh and Nelson almost colliding, same teammates, but Boyd. Shigley and Pesh. A blade into space. And Thorpe, knee sliding, not the intended receiver, but will take the score for Colorado, up 15-5 in the third quarter.
And just some missed opportunities there for Utah Wild. They had the disc, they had the spectacular layout D to get that possession, and just not able to capitalize in that moment. And in this instance, a miscue actually by the Utah Wild defense, overplaying on the intended receiver, Abby Thorpe, very smartly sitting behind and waiting for the disc to fall into their hands.
This was the layout block by Bozone. 1 and 2 receivers can't quite get it, sliding there, and it was Wallen with another D. Utah able to get the defensive possession but not convert on offense, and there is Thorpe in the end zone. The crowd is hot, but most of the hometown fans know that they are just waiting. Only a minute and a half left in the third quarter. Utah with the current possession. Back to Kircher.
And losing yards instead of being able to
Big flick going up. Miller lays out. Haruzhnikova gets the score. The birthday girl notches one for Utah Wild.
Kendra Miller willing this team back into this game. Second assist so far already. And starting with that Paige Kircher huck to space that just perfectly hung for Miller. Yes, it was a layout grab, but one that Miller can make in her sleep.
And that backhand reception for Kayak is her nickname. Her celebration song is I'm on a boat, really going with a theme there. And I think that that's the kind of energy that Wild might try to capitalize on. A little bit more fun. We're missing that sparkle from Wild.
And that's the thing, if you're the Utah Wild coaches right now, you have to remind your teammates, you have to remind your players, hey, this is your last opportunity to play together. We don't know what next year is going to hold, but let's have some fun today.
And the Utah D-line, they've gotten Ds before, but they haven't converted in the second half. Pesh fielding for Colorado and dropping it. Utah not needing to get the D. 20 yards outside the end zone. Gaskill. Wallen back on the field. Gaskill laying out in the handler space, calling a shot, hammer over the top and too far, two receivers in the area, but not good enough.
And you could see Gaskill was trying to navigate and tell the rest of her Utah Wild teammates where she wanted to put the disc, but too far.
Stacy Gaskill, 5 turns. Levin shoots upfield. Ito to Shigley. Shigley shooting for Thorpe, floating, maybe fluttering, and out of reach. A sigh of relief from Utah.
And Wild now with the disc, you know, speaking slightly about Stacy Gaskill, I know we're seeing 5 turnovers, but the biggest thing right now is we're not seeing Stacy in the Gaskill in the plus category. No goals, no assists so far this game.
Gaskill tries again. Backhand going up. Layout, grab. Justine Cherwink.
And that's the end of the quarter, so this will decide the end of this particular quarter.
Inside to Gaskill, up through the end zone line, and it is
Sarah
a
Judd.
Utah score. Sarah Judd back on the field after her injury. Utah Wild digging deep, finally getting a break as time ran out at the end of the third quarter.
And starting with just a miscue between the two Colorado Alpengo players, a set of turnovers, and then despite this incredible grab, just too far for Abby Thorpe, but really the possession-saving grab there by Utah Wild from Cherwick and allowing Utah Wild to get the break.
Colorado leads 15-7, the fourth quarter coming up.
Sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing. I had up a goodbye, cause I live in better, make each other do my own thing. I made up and get to this guy, cause so sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing.
Hopefully I can catch this spot. Oh man. It's not funny, I'm serious.
Fourth quarter coming up. Colorado Alpenglow leads Utah Wild 15-7. 12 minutes left to play at the 2024 championship weekend for the WUL, and we would like to thank Ultiphotos for their coverage. Ultiphotos is the premier provider of ultimate photography in the US and Canada. Follow at Ultiphotos on social media and head over to ultiphotos.com to view and purchase their incredible action shots.
Now heading into this fourth quarter, Katie, how are you feeling?
I feel like this has been two different games because the beginning of the first quarter was tight. There were a lot of turnovers, but there was really gritty and the score was close. And then in the second quarter, Colorado took over on an 8-point run. And then in the third quarter, it was back and forth, trading turnovers, big physical play. And so I think that, deciding to ignore that 8-point run, it's been a close game, but we can't ignore that 8-point run. Utah Wild has dug a hole, and their offense is trying to get out of it as they get back in action. Kircher, Goldfield, Williams laying out, giving the disc to Colorado. Grimes shooting for the end zone, and the quick Colorado break. Haley Banis with the score from Grimes. Colorado didn't want to give Utah a chance, and they notch another point up in this championship game.
14 different players with assists now. 14.
It's been a full team effort from Alpenglow.
And for those tracking at home, 9 different players scoring goals for Alpenglow.
This is Alpenglow's second year in the league.
And a team that was not here last year. Last year, the representatives of this conference were Seattle and Utah.
And barring a miraculous comeback from Wild, in their first appearance at championship weekend, it will be Colorado at home. Can Utah say something about it? Stanislawski puts one up, and the closest player is defender Aubrey Dietrich.
Alex Daniels back to pick up.
We saw them be efficient on previous points. Daniels upfield to Vlack. Back to Dixon, the handlers, changing the point of attack. McLaughlin. Bassett Carmen, and a run through D by Lily Terpstra. Gives Wild the disc back. Songer to Terpstra. Kircher. Inside look to Terpstra. Kendra Miller on the open side. Songer now with the disc. Now Miller. It's a slower pace of game for Utah, finding their marks, hitting their teammates. Terpstra, Miller, close to the end zone. More patience than we've seen from them. Stanislawski slotting it. It's Kat Songer with the score and the hold for Wild.
They worked for that, and they earned that point. It's the type of patience I was looking to see them find in the end zone. But in fairness, they haven't been around the end zone quite a bit. Their scores have been largely either deep looks or transitions. And so this was the first instance we were just seeing that their end zone set working and grinding, and that patience coming from them, looking to reset, finding the open receiver downfield.
Stanislawski moving Dixon's mark by that fake, and Songer takes advantage of the open space.
And 9 minutes and 44 seconds left in this game. Katie, what do you think?
Well, that offensive line is talking about what they're going to do. Songer tapping her head, talking about thinking, wanting to get back into it like Kendra Miller was telling us at halftime. But so far, Utah has previously made Colorado blink in their previous 2 meetings, but Colorado has not blinked today, finding Pesh on the inside, upfield to Thorpe, moving the disc smoothly. Nelson putting it up. Ito and Wallen. Ito elevates but can't make the catch.
And I would hope that players watching this game should watch Wallen's game. Wallen, who is smaller than most players on the field, yet already has 3 recorded blocks, and frankly that should also be recorded as a block as well, because Wallen understands how to find position.
Ito taking an injury on that point. Wallen, it looks, is going to have the disc coming back in after the stoppage. Finds a great break, inside look. Out to space. Judd over the top. Swinging much more effectively. Moving between the handlers at a quicker pace.
Nice possession saving grab there.
Norris continues to move the disc. Gaskill, upfield, Wallen.
Break.
From one end zone to the other, it's Gaskill to Wallen and a Utah break.
It starts by 1 point, and if I'm Utah Wild, that point was so needed. That's Gaskill's 2nd assist of the game. We're now seeing Gaskill get more involved in the scoring aspects of Utah Wild, and now can Wild keep this pressure up? Can they keep generating these turnovers and then, again, earn the actual break? This game thus far has been about missed break opportunities for Wild, but not in this quarter so far.
Improving quarter to quarter. The D-line for Utah Wild is going to climb a mountain if they're going to make a comeback in this game. But with 8.5 minutes on the clock, if they start it efficiently, they can do it. Gaskill with the pull.
I mean, the thing I was saying, Katie, when you were mentioning about the sort of the chapters of this game thus far, we haven't seen the Utah Wild scoring 6 in a row chapter yet.
Wild has been known in their tenure in the WL for making crazy comebacks late in games. And if they're going to continue that trend, there's no better moment than now as Gaskill marks Veldman, who finds Kleinkopf, swinging all the way to the other side of the field. Beetle Moorcroft with the disc. Colorado's unafraid to lose yards, to gain yards. Now Veldman with the disc, pivoting, trying to throw that big backhand, opting for a safer reset. Grimes out to space, Sevier in pursuit, and
turnover.
The intense pressure from Utah's defensive players finally frustrate Colorado into making a mistake. Finnegan picking up. Inside to Gaskill. Steps deep.
It's gonna work. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. It worked.
Gaskill to Cherwink. 2 breaks in a row. Do you believe in Utah Wild?
I'd like to think I was the only person believing right now, because I got to tell you, we were waiting for Gaskill to get involved in this game. And now Gaskill, you can see it. She's dialed in now. She puts that throw up, and there is no one around in that space. And just a nice, easy grab there by Cherwink. Utah Wild, again, 1 point at a time. Let's be clear, 1 point at a time. But this was a 10-point gap. A 10-point gap. We are now down to 6.
And that is what they are playing for, the championship trophy. 7 minutes, 15 seconds left to play, a 6-point gap, and it's been 3 in a row for Utah to close it, but they have more to do. We've seen wilder things, but maybe not as wild as this. Alicia Dixon taking the body contact on that pole, which was landing out of bounds, but trying to get some energy into the crowd who really liked that kind of flair.
And you can see why, right? You want Colorado to kind of just remember, hey, you have the lead here. This is your game. 6.5 minutes to go effectively. Just be patient. Just hang on. You'll weather the storm.
Colorado starting at midfield. Thorpe up to Levin, immediately to Ito. Wallen gets a huge block on Ito!
What an incredible layout D by Wallen. I am so fired up. I just jumped out of my seat. That was well timed, but just look at the angle of this. Such a clean layout D as well. What an incredible finish by Wallen.
And we've seen them get blocks, but now they're gonna have to go the full 80. Vespera Aragon with the disc. Flying, many people underneath, but Thorpe elevates over 3 players to get Colorado the disc back on their offensive point. Nelson finds Ito underneath. Shigley, Ito upfield.
And you can hear the crowd yelling defense, defense.
Up over the top again, intended for Thorpe, elevating twice in the point over other players, faking out the spike twice, and the calm walk-off from Thorpe.
Sarah Ito to the end zone. Abby Thorpe brings it in for the Alpenglow score. Colorado 17, Utah 10.
There was a lot of fire in this game, starting with the pull. Dixon chest bumping that pull, firing up the crowd, but it was this elevating, huge layout block, but it was Ito to the skying Thorpe for the Colorado hold.
And a nice response from Alpenglow to recover, let's call it, from that layout D. To be able to get possession back, find an open receiver, and then do what you've been doing all season, which is swing the disc to the far side of the field and trust your receivers to come down.
5.5 minutes to play. Colorado on defense. Utah wanting to score as efficiently as possible as they center to Songer. Upfield to Stanislawski.
Looking off an open Kendra Miller.
They may see Jade McLaughlin hunting in that space and not wanting to throw to the person she's guarding. Stanislawski on the far sideline, Hruzhnikova. Kircher looking into that deep space, faking, finds Kendra Miller on the inside angle. And it's too fluttery for Kircher going against her momentum.
I think that disc just came off of Miller's hand a little funny. You saw that sort of wiggly float coming from the disc.
Kleinkopf hits McLaughlin. And a snag after the point block by Miller. Fassett Carmen with the disc. Finding Dietrich. Such tight defense being played by Utah. McLaughlin on the far side, looking, trying to find an outside player. Kleinkopf again with the snag, but a timeout being utilized by Colorado.
The question is whether the disc will stay in the middle of the field or whether it will stay on the sideline, but everyone did hear that whistle again. The coach is allowed to call the timeout from the sideline. Colorado using their first timeout in the second half.
Intensity really ramping up between these two teams because Utah has been playing phenomenal defense down the stretch of this game.
Pesh, pick up the disc. We're gonna have Ari going upline first, Bailey to the fill, and then we're just going.
Neat. Okay.
Yeah. Just going sideways. What? Okay. And if we need a bailout, it's that corner.
Okay. I can go stand there.
Okay. Decisive, early, don't dance in the reset. Here we go. Click if you need it.
4 on 3, 1, 2, 3,
Whatever it takes.
How do you feel as a coach getting a little insight into other teams' huddles?
It's really nice to see each team having its own personality, whether it's having a captain call out your line, whether it's having the coach being able to give direction, but also you can see such familiarity with these players, understanding here's my role, here's what I'm going to do, here's how I'm going to help out. You heard Levin at the end saying, I'll stand in that corner as the reset bailout. But each team in and of itself, like I said, very different stylistically, and I think that's fun.
A break chance for Colorado. Their O-line coming on after the timeout. Pesh bleeding for Levin. The one throw break, back up by 8.
And you can see Ari Nelson and Levin joking about that because that was the call. Again, looking at this summary of the earlier point, just starting with just putting enough air under it, walling in that area, trying to sneak another D. Levin coming down with it.
Levin putting herself in a position to score.
That makes now 10 different Alpenglow players with goals in this game.
They are spreading the load, and it's going to be on defense. Utah now going upwind, wind having shifted to an upwind, downwind possession.
And all of a sudden, that momentum that Utah had feels like the sails have been deflated.
They had 2 breaks in a row, and now Colorado gets a break themselves. That pull sailing all the way out the back of the end zone, but out is out, and that disc is going to come back into the brick.
Longer to put it in play from the brick mark.
Again, for those watching at home, that's essentially 25 yards up from the front of the end zone line. The offense gets to set basically from a dead disc with their offense set downfield.
Fluttering. Songer throws a first throw turn. Lavoie makes sure it's down. Veldman hurls herself to retain possession. Now breaks. Veldman breaks again out to McKee. Lavoie upfield, and the flip to Fernbeetle Moorcroft, 2-12. 9 points ahead is Colorado with 3 minutes left to play.
And that makes 11 different receivers for Alpenglow in the goal column. To 15 different players with assists. There's 3 minutes left in this game, Katie, but we should really now start giving Colorado its due.
I think the score line that they have made, that 8-point run in the second quarter, a statement-making play from their entire squad.
And Colorado's going to look at this game and feel really good about what they have built. Again, talking about a team that was in its second year of existence, a team that was not here at this tournament last year, not only coming in, but making a statement with this final.
Utah on offense, off to the races. Norris moving upfield. Backhand going up, intended for Gaskill, and reeled in. Justine Cherwing to Gaskill. Players connecting in the opposite direction as Utah's last score.
And that's a point that only took 25 seconds off the clock. Now, 25 seconds is not a lot of time, but if we're doing the math, and we got to make up an 8-point margin, It's not enough time right now. But I still think Utah Wild can and should close this gap out, demonstrate that they were the team that earned the right to be in this game.
Discraft is one of our sponsors. The presenting sponsor and official disc of the WUL. You can visit discraft.com to purchase your own.
AC Gaskell on the ball for the Wild.
And Gaskell staying on the field. Pull lands in bounds.
Ari Nelson picks up.
Nelson guarded by Norris. Upfield to Shigley. Ito coming from the deep space all the way back, now to Levin. Thorpe faking deep, miscue, Shigley in pursuit. Utah, Judd going deep for Norris, Levin!
Hang on. So there was an injury call. I know that looks like a turnover right now, but before that throw goes up, Ari Nelson is actually signaling an injury. And as a result, the rules indicate that where there's an injury, there's a stoppage of play. And so that disc will actually retain in Wild's possession.
The injury was called before the throw. Possession to stay with Wild.
One of the things I like about the hand signal is because it gives you a physical marker of when the timing of that call is made, making it very easy for our observers to bring this back. Judd gets the disc back after turning it, and Utah retains possession. Upfield to Gaskell. Bozone making a deep cut, floating. Hard to tell if that stayed in bounds, but it goes out.
And a smart move. You want to be able to score efficiently. In that instance, the edge just catches the wrong direction and as a result pushes out. But also because you are seeing the flag in the background, the wind is very swirly. We've been hearing from our sideline correspondent, Leah Smith, that this wind is deceptive.
Pesh upfield to Thorpe. Under pressure, but seems unfazed. Shigley faking as the Colorado players move back upfield. Sarah Pesh now swinging to Levin, liking this sideline, finding Thorpe in the deep space. Ito cutting deep, elects to go on the other direction. Wallen in pursuit, and that one is Ito. Those two have been in a great matchup. That one went Ito's way. Wallen got one earlier. Excellent spirit from the two players.
And a carbon copy, but reversal of what we just saw in the last sequence. It was Ito throwing to Thorpe, in this instance, Thorpe throwing to Ito. But with that, Sarah Ito with 4 goals on the day, matched only by Abby Thorpe's 4 goals and 3 assists.
Those two players connecting in Colorado's run for the championship. 20-11 over Utah currently.
And you can get this crowd feels it now. It's 1:11. This is now a coronation in some ways, but there's still a minute to be played. Utah Wild has an opportunity to close this out, end with what got them here, which is a clean hold.
There have been a lot of high-flying plays this game. Veldman pulling. Songer to Terpstra. Kircher. Stanislawski, the same names we've called for Utah. Miller squatting to get that one. Haruzhnikova off of her chest.
Wild turnover.
And now the clock does stop in the last 2 minutes anytime the disc goes out of bounds. So you're seeing that clock, and now it'll restart. Clock will also stop on any calls at this point.
Veldman, big backhand. Boyd and Haruzhnikova, and it's Boyd. A stall called by Williams on the throw.
Calls will also stop the clock as well.
Stall call was overruled by the observer. The disc will advance.
And I agree, the observer overruling that was a very fast count. So the disc is going to stay with the first receiver, Maddie Boyd, all the way down 5 yards outside of the end zone. 44 with the disc, 45 seconds to play. Does Colorado score? No, they don't. Stanislawski interrupts their end zone possession. Kircher to Songer.
Songer had a receiver, but then elected not to throw the disc up in the air. 20 seconds left, 26 seconds left in this game.
A call, halts play. As the officiating team is there, talking between players, Songer retains possession, coming in, stalling 4. Stanislawski again, moving the disc, time dwindling down. Kircher to Terpstra, out for Miller.
And it seems like Wild is content to just say, we want to get this score. We're not concerned about this clock. The game is now Colorado's, but this will end on a Utah possession or score.
Songer and Miller. The sideline is starting to get excited because even though Utah is on the doorstep trying to bring it 1 point closer for the final total, churning their legs. Kircher to Miller, laying out is Songer for the score for Utah, but today is all about Colorado Alpenglow, the first time champions of the Western Ultimate League at home in front of their fan base by 8 points.
That 8-point differential proving to be too much for Utah Wild to overcome. They played, to your point, Katie, 3 quarters of good ultimate, but that 1 quarter where Utah just could not find the end zone or each other, and Colorado Alpenglow making them pay over and over and over again, proving to be the differential in this game and a dominant and decisive win for Colorado Alpenglow.
So many players from Colorado contributing to this win.
It's such a balanced win for Colorado. As we look at this and we look at the stat sheet, we look at this trophy that Colorado will get to hoist for the first time in its first appearance here on the WL Championship. But Colorado has so much to be proud of in this game. This was a team that understood that they were here on a mission.
And that mission has been accomplished. Don't go anywhere because we are coming back with the awards ceremony.
Moving, that's the method, and I'm moving on to rep it. The suburbs, how I left it, laying beats down on the structures. Riling up the youth, and I'm stirring up a ruckus. Stay hurting instrumentals, putting rappers on the crutches. Rebels of the ages, get your own places. Cook yourself something, stop living in the basement. I'm 5 stars, why waste your time to rate it? Chuck the hater raid, bitch, I'm always hydrated. I made up and get to this guy, cause so sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing. I held up a goodbye, cause I live in better, make each other do my own thing. I made up and get to this guy, cause so sorry, little mama, gotta do my thing.
Hopefully I can catch it this spot. Oh man. It's not funny, I'm serious.
It has been a high-flying weekend of Ultimate at high altitude in championship weekend. Colorado Alpenglow, the champions this year, and we had one of the most exciting first points I've witnessed in a long time.
Yes, this point lasting almost a half of a full quarter in and of itself. 2 timeouts called, but this ultimately is your Discraft play of the game. This was the point where allowing Colorado to get the initial break that would spell the breaks to come later on.
And it was Dietrich with that swirling grab that set the tone for the rest of the game. After a back and forth first point, our Discraft play of the game couldn't be more exemplified as we get to see our champions. And down on the field, we have our MVP ceremony.
To the league and their teams. Each nominee exemplifies excellence in their respective roles. The most valuable player nominees are players who had the most significant impact on their team's overall success throughout the season. From Utah Wild, Brooke Stanislawski. From Arizona Sidewinders, Chip Chang. From San Diego Superbloom, Kayla Helton. From San Diego Superbloom, Kelly Iwamoto. From Colorado Alpenglow, Abby Thorpe. Abby Thorpe led the league in goals with 23 goals, 10 more than any other player. On her team, she was 5th in assists, 2nd in blocks, and 1st in receiving yards. Brooke Stanislawski was the first player in WL history to record 4 goals, 4 assists, and 3 blocks in a game. Over the season, she had 10 goals, 15 assists, and 6 blocks. She tied for 3rd in the league in receiving yards and 5th in assists and goals. Chip Chang racked up 7 goals, 11 assists, 7 blocks, and 1,453 yards for the season. She was 5th in the league in blocks, 2nd on the team in assists. Her team described her as an unbelievable teammate, captain, and player, humble, wicked smart, and always pushing herself and her teammates. Kayla Helton, our 2-time WL MVP, led the league in assists per game and yards per game in 2004. She had 22 assists, the 2nd highest in the league, tied for 4th in goals with 11, and was 4th in receiving yards, 2nd in total yards, and had the 2nd highest plus-minus in the league with 23.5. Kelly Iwamoto has been described as the most dynamic O-handler in the game. Offensively, Iwamoto had the highest offensive efficiency and the most throwing yards on San Diego with 1,559, and defensively had the most blocks in the league among handlers. She racked up 13 assists, 6 blocks, and 7 goals for the season. Please put your hands together for all of our incredible finalists for MVP. And to announce the winner, please welcome our league commissioner, Megan Andrews.
Your 2024 Western Ultimate League Most Valuable Player is Abby Thorpe. Thorpe's 23 goals not only led the league by 10, they were the 2nd most in a single season. Her plus-minus of 28.5 led the league by 5. Her 32.4 offensive impact score was 1st in the league, and she had the highest block rate, averaging nearly 1 block every 11 defensive possessions. Thorpe was also nominated for Player of the Week 3 times and won the award in Week 5 while tying the single-game record for goals with 7 and setting the single-game record for receiving yards with 406. Congratulations, Abby and Colorado Alpenglow.
once again, the 2024 Most Valuable Player in the Western Ultimate League, Abby Thorpe.
Abby Thorpe celebrated by her teammates and the crowd in a well-deserved MVP award from the winning team this year, Colorado Alpenglow, getting hugs from teammates and coaches. And now a statement from our executive director.
Thank you to Pinnacle Athletic Complex for this beautiful venue. What an incredible facility to host this event. Thank you to the Colorado management and organizational crew, Betsy, Aaron, Jess, Mike, Amy, Carolina, Steve on the PA, stats crew, scoreboard, and all of the volunteers. Thank you so much. To local sponsors who supported Colorado all season, Jackson Photo, Delta S Performance, number 38, Tokay, and Tire Rack. And to our WL League sponsors, Breakmark and Discraft, and for Ulti-Photo's coverage of this weekend. For our very intentional female and non-binary crew of commentators and observers all weekend long. Our WL staff and board members, not all of whom are here, but have spent the past year dedicating their time to making this season and this league successful. A special shout out to Kate, our social media manager, who has been covering us on the ground all weekend, and for all the team reps working so hard throughout the season, including each of our teams themselves, to the Arizona Sidewinders, to the Bay Area Falcons, to your Colorado Alpenglow, San Diego Superbloom, Seattle Tempest, and Utah Wild. A few notes on the league itself. The level of play has been increasing so much year over year. The level of athleticism, the caliber of these athletes is going up. The caliber of coaching staff and the management of our teams is leveling up. Our broadcasts have remained free and accessible on YouTube since we were founded. And just to note, the vast majority of our games this year were actually decided by a point differential of 3 points or fewer. So a really competitive season. There's nothing but opportunity and a sense of optimism looking forward for this league. And with that, we have a very special announcement. I'll be formally stepping down as ED after this event, but I'd like to give a warm welcome to the WL's new ED, Nicole Newmiller. And now it's our distinct pleasure to announce your 2024 Western Ultimate League champions, the Colorado Alpenglow.
And with that, the coronation is complete. Colorado Alpenglow are the champions this year. Ito hoisting the trophy above her head. Celebrations abound, and we were treated to an excellent game from great teams.
And just an excellent weekend of games, Katie. Let's just take a moment to acknowledge 4 incredible games, 2 semifinals, 2 of which were rematches, and 1 of which was a brand new game. Colorado playing San Diego for the first time. Utah Wild playing Bay Area Falcons for the second time. In both instances, an upset happening. Then in the third place game earlier today, Utah Wild getting the better of the Falcons. And in this instance, in this rematch of 3, Colorado Alpenglow with a definitive, defining, and defiant win.
There is an absolute gaggle of Colorado players as they get together for a team picture with the trophy. I feel like the celebration is just going to continue, especially as they are at home and they have a home bar to go to. They are fulfilling the dreams that they had when they started this team 2 years ago. I saw Betsy Bash on the sideline sporadically crying with joy at what Colorado Alpenglow has been able to do.
And that only underscores how important these narratives are, how important this league is to this community. When you look and you saw the emotional reaction, not only from Ari Nelson, not only from Abby Thorpe, but you talk to these staff members, you talk to the folks behind the scenes, the ability to bring this dream to life. It evokes such hope, it evokes a joy, and it evokes a need for more stories like this.
A day like today in front of a home crowd in their Breakmark fan jerseys, the mega fans showed up here for Colorado Alpenglow.
And just had a great time doing it. That's the fun of this too. To watch this Colorado Alpenglow team is to watch people have fun. They engage with their crowd. You saw it, Alicia Dixon understanding what the moment needed to try and get her team back into this game, this crowd back into this game, and Alpenglow in the end shutting the door on Utah Wild.
And no player maybe had more of an impact than MVP Abby Thorpe. We're talking to you up from here, and you are down on the field. Talk us through this game.
Wow. There's a lot of things. We, like any team that showed up on this field today, had a second game to play, and we just had the tenacity every step of the way. Just lifting each other up. If anyone started to drag, we found that person and pushed them further. And I think a lot of us found a deeper level than maybe we knew we all had. Just so much grit on this team.
Abby, we saw emotional reactions both from you and Ari Nelson. Tell us, what were you feeling in that moment?
Probably, is it actually over? A lot of this game has just been like, oh man, we only have a few more points together. So definitely a culmination of that. Definitely a little bit of a life flashing before your eyes of the whole season, all the work that we've put in together.
You're being celebrated by your teammates when you're announced as MVP. What does it feel like to have so much support from your community and teammates?
Yeah, I couldn't ask for more. Like I said yesterday, I mean, you're only as good as your teammates. They're all incredible athletes, incredibly hard workers. They push me harder. Like I said, every practice I get better because I'm playing the best matchups in the country. So it's easy with teammates like them.
Abby, if you could summarize your season in 2 words. 2 words. I'm going to ask you to summarize your season. What would you do?
I'll do it in 1. Electric. That's how
it was an electric game, an electric season, and an electric win. Abby, congratulations. Please go enjoy this day with your teammates. Looking forward to see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
And electric was our presentation. High-flying fields. I have been Katie Killebrew, joined by Manisha Dariani. We have had a action-packed weekend. If you had to sum it up in 1 word, how would you say it?
Gosh, see, I don't like being the interviewed one, but I have to say again, as someone who has been a part of this league, and Katie, it's been such a pleasure to have you both on these broadcasts and your involvement in this game. It has been such a joy to be able to bring to life this league, these games, these athletes to you all at home. And more importantly, I know that you're at that watch parties, you're sitting at home watching these games. These athletes play for you. These athletes know that you're watching, and these athletes showed out today.
Layouts up and down the field. Wallen, Ito, Gaskill, but at the end of the day, it was Colorado Alpenglow and their fans who won the fields and the championship. Alpenglow putting on a show, an 8-point margin of victory, 20-12, an 8-point run, and onto the field they run as champions.
Katie Killebrew, I'm Manisha Dariani. It has been an absolute privilege to be able to bring these games to you, and we hope you enjoyed these games, and more importantly, this Western Ultimate League. Support this league. Come on out, come to games, and we will see you again next year.